Well, good morning, everyone. And well, let's start this seminar today. I will say for me it's both a great pleasure and also a little bit of sadness together with the pleasure of introducing the speaker of today, who is Dr. KN Rai. As you all know, KN Rai is I would say is one of the pillars of breeding in this center. Sorry, I don't want to touch your slide. He has been with ICRISAT for about 37 years, is that correct? And he joined ICRISAT as a pear millet breeder in 1977. And since then, he has been always engaged on pear millet improvement. Well, that is something that perhaps I was dreaming to do when I started my career as a breeder, to end up my career working with the same crop for all these years. And I think that's the dream of all breeders. Now, I have a long list of achievements and major contribution that Dr. Rai has made during his excellent career, but this will be a seminar by itself. So I just want to highlight that more than 100 hybrids that are now of pear millet that are now under cultivation in India, that were either are or were under cultivation at any time. More than 60 are based on material that were developed by Dr. Rai and his team. He has published an enormous amount of research articles, more than 130, several book chapters, bulletins, communications, so very rich production in terms of papers. And he has also written what is considered a classical book on pear millet breeding. Of course, before I leave the floor to Dr. Rai, I need to highlight at least other two major important milestones of his career. One is the leadership role that he had played in the ICRISAT private sector partnership in the development of the pear millet hybrid parent research consortium, and the contribution he had to the All India Pear Millet Coordinated Program. Of course, in the last few years, we have very often recognized Dr. Rai as the biofortification in pear millet person, the Harvest Plus person within ICRISAT, and his effort in that area has brought to the release of a variety, Danakshati, that has been already under production from 2012 and has been officially released all over India in 2013. Of course, he had received several individual and team awards that I'm not going to list right now. With this, I just introduce to you Dr. KN Rai, and he will tell us his story, I will say. I will assume it will be his lifetime with the pear millet. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania. Good morning to all of you. Anyway, in the middle with the tie, you see a person some of you may not know. He is Dr. Norman Borlaug, an inspiration to plant breeders around the world. That would include that I have been quite inspired by him actually. And Millet program started about 40 years ago. I have been here for 37.5 years. So lot of work done by me and by my colleagues also. And I thought this might be a good time when I am leaving the institute to maybe bring out some of the highlights and key points and also tell what they might mean actually for millet community around the world, including our regional centers in WCA and ISA. In my slides, you might find quite a bit of data here and there. I am not going to read all those things actually. You can read maybe much faster than I can speak. But nevertheless, I will bring out those points. Being a cross-pollinated crop and having certain what you get the policy things in the mind, which leaders always don't tell actually to everybody. In the beginning, almost entire efforts were on the population improvement because the leadership for the millet improvement came with an experience, a vast experience from the African regions. And it was thought that the seed cost is low, the open pollinated varieties are more stable for yield and disease resistance. Farmer can use their own seed actually. And if we breed the improved population and the variety, they can serve as a good base material for the development of the parental lines in the national program actually. So before ICRISAT started, hybrids in India were already there, but still ICRISAT tried to work on the populations. Anyway, every good thing has a time to end. So that program came almost to a close by 1999 because I will tell you why. And the hybrid program which had started at a low key picked up very fast actually. So now in ICRISAT, everything is hybrid parent development. And the biofortification is a part of that actually. But it takes a lot of resources. So that is why I try to put here 3 phases. Again, I think a tribute to the leadership, to which I also endorse. I endorse from the beginning. Not everything can be done everywhere, anytime. So you have to prioritize actually. And in the prioritization, grain yield and downy mildew resistance, that is it. That is what we were going to work on, nothing else. But as the time passed by and it was found out that the stover is also becoming more important, that was included as a selection criterion. And now at this stage, grain yield, downy mildew resistance and blast, these 3 are the major. But we also work on stover yield a little bit and on heat tolerance. I think the vision of the leadership was that we should be working for an environment where we have broad partnership, for which we have wider genetic base. The probability of success is very good in terms of the data quality and data return. So the initial focus was on the non-arid zone. Although millet is very important in the arid zone also, but it was thought not really much can be done. For the sand dunes, still I think that not much can be done for the future. So you concentrate where you can make the impact. It is not a question that we are increasing the productivity at the farm level for every farmer, but the national productivity is also very important. And I would like to think that this thrust will continue actually, non-arid zone as the primary zone, but I think increasingly some arid zone research should also be done. We had our regional, what we call our testing centers, one in Gwalior, We used to grow some pearl millet, although it was not meant for pearl millet mainly. One at Hisar, another one in Bhavani Sagar. But I don't think that was a partnership actually. We used to send our trial, our people, they were managing everything. The partnership came basically in the last 10 to 15 years, I must say, when Dr. Khairwal joined as a coordinator, it really accelerated. And you will see some results of that. But I think the great push came after the consortium was formed actually. I think that became a real expansion of our partnership in India. So with the population improvement, WCC 75 was the first variety of any ICRISAT mandate crop developed by deliberate breeding, which was released in 1982. In a large number of trials, it was shown that it had a grain yield comparable to BJ104, a leading popular hybrid at that time. It had 20% more fodder yield, and it was cultivated in India in late 1980s on about 1 million hectares. Another variety, ICTP8203, was released in 1988. It yielded 7 to 10% more than WCC 75, but only in peninsular India. Its adaptation was not as wide as the WCC 75. You can see here three generations of the farmers actually standing in front of ICTP8203. I think this picture was taken about 25 years ago. This boy must be 30 by now, and perhaps he's still cultivating ICTP8203. We had to do a lot of work. I read a review about Dr. Glenn Burton saying that when you do all this seed production and take the things to the farmers, some people say it is extension. Dr. Burton said, I call it education actually. It is not extension, it is education both ways. You educate the farmers and you get educated in return actually too. There's a lot of work actually with Maharashtra State Seed Corporation. And that was the corporation which was involved in the popularization of WCC 75. And don't ask the question what I had to do. Go from village to village, sit with the farmers, drink the water from their open well. But I think that is what was supposed to be done. And this variety was cultivated at the peak of its adoption on about 800,000 hectares, is still grown on about 250,000 hectares. The question always came, why varieties for a cross-pollinated crop where you have got that high degree of heterosis? In the United States, you can see the open pollinated varieties development work was done for about 60 years. They did not go anywhere, but because of the poor productivity of the inbred parental lines, they had to go for the double crosses, good gain, and when they came to the single crosses, big jump actually. In India, All India coordinated trial, or quite sometimes used to conduct a joint trial of the open pollinated varieties and hybrids. So we can compare one variety with one hybrid actually. It is a good idea that you take the mean of the hybrid, several hybrids, about 8 to 10, and you also take the mean of 8 to 10 hybrids also, and then compare the mean and then see what happens. We compared the data for 5 years actually. This is old data, but very useful and convincing data actually why to go for the hybrid. And if you see the hybrid, the trial mean, hybrids had generally about 25% yield advantage over the varieties, and the best hybrids had about 30% advantage over the open pollinated variety. The work had started, very low key work had started, even when the population improvement program was going on. And this is my colleague Dr. Anand Kumar, a very renowned millet breeder actually, who worked for a long time in West Africa. He was the first one to develop a male-sterile line 81, a D2 dwarf, a product of mutation breeding. It was released in 1981. But this was a very different male-sterile line, dwarf and very leafy. So there was so much resistance from the All India program scientists. Oh, it is leafy, it will breed the insects actually, and it is not useful. But ICRISAT was determined actually to show that how good the male-sterile line is. Why ICRISAT was determined? Because our leader was very determined about this. And he said, let us do everything possible to make sure that people understand what is the meaning of this male-sterile line. On this, a hybrid was developed. First hybrid, ICRISAT hybrid, was released in 1986, and it was cultivated on more than 1.2 million hectares at the peak of its adoption. And it stayed in the market for about 12 years. We did some preliminary work. We crossed about 40 to 45, I don't remember the number exactly, but large number of pollinators on 5141A, which was the male-sterile line from All India program at that time, and on 81A. And when we plotted the hybrid, you can see at Patancheru, this is the mean actually of 81. So anything above the line is better than 5141A. So the hybrids of 81 at Patancheru, many of them were better than this one, but at Bhavani Sagar, almost all of them were better actually. So with a small publication, and we distributed those things in the national program, we showed you start breeding male-sterile, hybrids for male-sterile line 81A. It took a bit of convincing actually. We showed the seed production here of how good it is. Another male-sterile line at ICRISAT was developed, 841A, by selecting for the residual variability for resistance within the line actually. So millet being cross-pollinated crop, I mean, it is just amazing. You keep breeding for 10 generations and still you find there is variability actually within the line. And on this one, a great hybrid Pusa 23 was developed, which again was a ruling hybrid in northern India. That hybrid was developed by ICAR-ICRISAT in Delhi. For all these contributions, Pearl Millet team was the first one to get the Meissler Award in the institute. I think this may be something wrong here because at that time, although it was a team award, the certificate was given to individual scientists and their name was written here. So one can think, okay, this is an award for KN Rai. No, it is not actually. Every scientist got with his own name. I think the Pearl Millet team should have come, everybody should have come here actually, not one person. And following that, 2 years later, Pearl Millet improvement research was again given the King Bodwin Award. This was the first CGIAR team award given to any crop in the institute. While we were showing the utility of 81A and people started getting convinced, what was the result? 10 more hybrids were released on 81 in All India program, by All India program. In other words, if you have a product and you are convinced by heart, you have to take it to the logical end and not get bothered by the criticism actually. It is too dwarf, it is too late, and it is too leafy. But the conviction has to be science-based actually. It is not that one has to be adamant about it. Once that hybrid became successful and the things started coming, we said, okay, D2 dwarf is the plant frame in which we have to breed male-sterile lines. Mr. C.S. Rao is sitting there and now you can see the millet heads are going on the top of his head, so it shows actually what dwarfism means. But sometimes if the eyes are open, you come across strange things actually in your program. And one strange thing we got was this. Many times when you are entering the institute through the gate at the right hand side, when we plant institute demonstration, you might be seeing at the seedling stage 2 rows looking yellow and wondering actually what is this. In fact, our very renowned physiologist, Dr. Frank Bedinger, at one time he called me in the office when things were coming at the panicle stage. It looked like a grassy picture actually. And he says, what do you plant in that demonstration actually? Why a demonstration has to be for good things? if you, he joked, if you breed like that and I were your leader, I would fire you. I said, friend, you have seen at this stage, you have not seen at this stage when it matures. When it matures, it is like this actually. It has a unique character, it's a recessively inherited trait, but sometimes during the flowering, it changes the color. And it is so good actually that any contamination on that one you can is rogue out at the seedling stage, and the efficiency at this stage in roguing is very high. We said again, well, we have developed a male-sterile line. We want to breed a hybrid on this. An ICRISAT-bred hybrid we call ICMS 356. It released in 1997, I suppose. It is still cultivated, I think, not much, about 50 to 60,000 hectares. But JK Agri-Seed, 20 years ago, they bred a hybrid on this actually. And at the peak of its adoption, JKBS26 was cultivated at more than 400,000 hectares. And Dr. Kulkarni tells me still they produce the seed and they market it. That is one great thing. Second, even after 20 years, the DM resistance of this male-sterile line has not broken down. So it is an excellent material for genetical research. What type of gene or gene cluster it has that its DM resistance continues even today. The seed companies are the major users actually of our material, but they don't tell which line they are using. From the private sector releases we know. These are the male-sterile lines. These are the number of hybrids released in India. In the parentheses are the seed companies' hybrids. They don't tell, but we know it actually. To be very sure. About others, we cannot be sure. But in these cases, we know. Because the companies tell us, yes, it is this, but we will not give you in writing that it is this. And what has been the result of all these actually? Of course, with the participation of the seed companies and the national program, 5 kg per hectare per year was the yield gain when the varieties were not there, hybrids were not there. And even when the hybrids came, 1 or 2 hybrids in the market actually, not much diversity, better than varieties, so people were very happy. Again, not much, 5, 6, 13. But since the seed companies came into the picture, the grand picture actually, the yield gain has been 20 kg per hectare per year. I mean, 20 kg looks very small, but it is 7% per year actually. 7% per year the productivity gain, I will not call genetic gain, has not happened in India for any crop including wheat and rice. Another interesting thing, okay, for the arid zone coming, for arid zone, not many options. So once you get the great option, then what do you do? HHB 67 was developed for arid zone. The earliest maturing hybrid produced anywhere in the world. It matures in 65 to 67 days. And when it was grown for 8 to 10 years, we knew it is going to break down sometime for downy mildew. There are not many options actually. So the idea was why not to breed, improve its DM resistance, and we got HHB 67 improved. How this was done? You look at the parental lines at the hybrid, about 90% downy mildew incidence. Male-sterile line was improved by conventional back crossing. It took more time, but the DM incidence, no, 0, no downy mildew. The pollinator was bred by marker-assisted breeding, 40% downy mildew. So when I go out, I also talk, because this is definitely a great product of the biotech application. But this is what was done by conventional breeding, this is what was done by biotech. And this is one thing that I tell time and again. Don't discard the old goose giving the golden egg actually without knowing anything further actually. Otherwise there has to be a problem and there will be a crisis of credibility if you don't produce actually. When this work was going on, we also thought the whole Indian program has now moved to hybrid breeding, and if there is only one system of male sterility and something happens to permanent like it happened to maize in the United States, there will be a problem. So we started looking for the new sources of male sterility, and what we did was discover some at ICRISAT because we have the huge resources, and also assemble resources from outside. And the story, only thing I will tell you that when we worked on this A5 male sterile line, we thought if the male sterility is a result of the inharmonious interaction between the nuclear gene and the cytoplasm, then where it will be more inharmonious, where more distant crosses have been made. Not distant crosses in terms of interspecies actually, but more divergent crosses have been made. And where do you go in permit? We went to gene pool developed by Dr. Apara, large seeded gene pool. And we planted the last bed, 264 rows, because you plant with pulp, so we said we will plant with this one. And then one day I told our technician, Ishwar Rao, can you go and see if there are some male sterile plants in that one, so that we start looking them further. And he took, and then he put the tag actually. No, sorry. And you come and tell. He said, sir, there are a lot of male sterile plants. So I said, if there are a lot, then you take some selfing bag, use the selfing bag, and we'll go and tag those sterile plants. He took selfing bags, and we started tagging those. So the last bag was bag number 66. And we said, I think we have tagged enough male sterile plants. I don't think we need any more. If you cannot find anything in 66, you may not find anything after 67 actually. And when we started evaluating and examining the male sterile line, the A5 was the plant number 66 actually. So that talks about the number. People say plant breeding is a game of number, not the game of number that you plant and forget, but the number that you observe actually. So I just say, I took it, I think in plant breeding there is a good element of luck also actually. Otherwise he might have taken only 60 bags. Why 66? He just picked up and there happened to be 66 bags. We characterized these actually, and we found out, okay, A1 is the commercial one is quite stable, but others one, these two were discovered at Ludhiana actually, A2 and A3, and those guys, they worked on their male sterile was their baby for 40 years. Transferring this genotype, transferring that genotype, and they don't want to give up because they discovered it. And finally they had to give up because they were not stable actually. So one thing we started doing was develop isonuclear lines, different cytoplasm in different backgrounds, not for those because they were not good actually, they were unstable, but especially for the A4 and A5, and we described and we found out that the maintainer frequency on A1 while it is 15 to 20%, it is 30 to 40% on A4, that means more genotypes you can convert into male sterile line. And on A5, 99% of the inbred lines are male sterile actually. In other words, any genotype you can convert into male sterile line using A5, but that would mean that you have to breed a restorer. Okay, breeding a restorer is very easy job. We have done it. I am not going into that detail. And once that was done, then we started breeding the male sterile lines on A4 and A5. Of course, on A5 a little later because it was discovered a little later. And people were not using it actually. We have been telling in all the meetings, use A4 and A5. It gives you opportunity for genetic diversification of the male sterile lines. Now, 2011 in the consultation day, we thought the advisory committee identified several lines, several themes actually, and we said, okay, what are the emerging research priorities in millet program in India? And we gave this job to a private seed company actually. He said, you make the presentation. And in that presentation, Dr. Gowda said that was the year, if you have a consultation meeting and you have an outcome, you have to document it actually. So we documented in 2012 in our site journal. Okay, it is not a very high profile journal actually, but that information has to be documented and put in the public domain. And these are all the people from the seed companies who joined. And now the result is everybody is mad about A4 and A5, and hurriedly now they are developing their own male sterile line and restorers. Now next, the biofortification. Somewhere, I think in 2002, 2003, I don't remember, Wolfgang, who was the manager of the Bio Harvest Plus at that time, he was visiting Institute. And we said, why don't we take him to Pearl Millet actually? We took him and showed a lot of material. He spent, I think, about 2 hours. And he was so impressed that when he went back, he put Pearl Millet and also at that time sorghum in the biofortification loop. But he said, you are second tier actually. First tier are rice and wheat. You will get a small amount of money. I said, okay, any small amount of money at that time, we were struggling for money. Is okay, we will start it. Of course, now we are in tier 1 actually. So after first phase, millet was put in tier 1 for the reasons that you will see a little later. What we did was, we said that we generate a lot of diverse material and we supply to the national program to the seed company. That is the one they use for development of the hybrids. So if there is diversity in the germplasm and there is diversity in our breeding, there should be diversity in the hybrids also actually. More than 122 hybrids and of course ICTP 8203. By that time we knew something about ICTP 8203. We put in the trial. This is based on the mean of 2 locations. And if you look at the grain iron and the zinc density actually, of course highly correlated. We have done several studies and the correlation is very high. ICTP was on the top. Again, luck actually. It was not bred for that, but it had the highest iron content. And these are some of the hybrids also which have much higher Pro Agro C, a leading hybrid, very poor, and some of them have only 32, 33 ppm iron actually. It was a simple information, but based on that information, the Government of India, Department of Agriculture, included this variety and these hybrids, what they call their Nutriform program of the Government of India actually. So now they are included. They don't get any premium price actually, but because of the higher content, I think their adoption is slightly higher. We did some strategic research. I mean, it is not that you just go and start doing blindly breeding. Actually, Harvest Plus has been doing that actually, and I think they have paid a little price, including Pearl Millet also for some time. We did some strategic research and we found, okay, self-seed, which was being used in the beginning, is no good actually, because it gives an overestimate of iron and zinc. There is no genia effect and there is no significant dust contamination as well. Both are predominantly additive genetic control. There is no better parent heterosy. And there is highly significant and positive correlation between iron and zinc. Performance per se of the lines and their general combining ability are highly correlated, highly positively correlated. And all these have the implications for efficient hybrid parents and hybrid development program. One problem we had was sending the seed from here to Australia. The cost was high. They could not analyze as many samples as we wanted. I think about maybe 2,000 to 3,000 samples a day. We were looking for a cheap technique. We did not have to do anything. Harvest Plus standardized this, what we call XRF. In 1 year, we analyzed 18,000 samples here. Well, if we had to pay to Australian lab, actually the whole budget was going for the analysis. What is great about it is the cost is not very high and the correlation of the iron for iron and zinc between the ICP and the XRF is very high, 0.69 to, generally it is 0.8 actually. In other words, it's a very efficient technique for discarding a large number of lines with low iron and zinc content in the breeding program. By utilizing the variability within ICTP 8203, we developed a variety, improved version of that with higher iron content, 9% higher iron, 11% more grain yield, and I don't have here, but 13% more fodder also. And based on that performance, it was released originally for Peninsular India. But this year it has been released with Dhanasakti at all India level actually. But this was one we thought, is it by a fluke? We are doing similar exercises in other varieties to find out whether you can improve, and the results are very good. But we had to go for the hybrid. And this is the first hybrid, ICMS 1201. Shakti Vardhak, it is being marketed as a Shakti Vardhak by a seed company. It has the same iron level as ICTP8203, but 38% more grain yield actually. And now I think we are on our way. Some people are asking, can you beat the best hybrid for grain yield in another 2 years? No, we cannot. I think it will take time, but we are going to reach one day there actually. Where do you go to look for the iron content actually? Go in the germplasm, go in the breeding line. When we use so much diverse material to diversify the genetic base of breeding lines, why do we go jump all the time in the germplasm? First look there, and in the mainstream breeding, when we looked at the B lines and the R lines, we find there are lines which have got, many lines which have got more than 81 ppm iron. There are other sources also we have identified from the germplasm, not exceeding that level, but the possibility could be that some of the genes there might be different from here, and that can be done and analyzed quite well by the use of genomic tools. By utilizing those breeding lines, if you look at the ICTP here, these are the early generation breeding lines. We have the iron and the zinc very high actually. Our target is 77 ppm based on the previous baseline of 47, but I think the revised baseline will be 45. So our target will be 45 actually. With 5% bioavailability of iron, but the recent results show that it is only about, I think it's about 7%. So I think our target level will also come slightly down. So that is about what are the main things that we are doing. But we also, we have the good germplasm, so we start looking for some other things on demand basis actually, what the partners demand. And one thing has been coming is that they have been saying that there is a good scope for the summer bajra cultivation, summer permanent cultivation in India. And the area is going up actually. In some states, this rainy season area is going down, the summer area is going up, but in summer the problem is heat tolerance. Lot of hybrids don't set good seed. This is the first hybrid actually. It has been in cultivation for about 15 years, developed by ProAgro. They were very kind enough to disclose the pedigree actually, which we documented again in the SAID journal quite some time ago. It is based on the male-sterile line 92777. This was developed in 1992. There are other male-sterile lines here, and also we have identified a germplasm. This is a wonderful hybrid. It's very popular in northern India and very popular for summer cultivation in parts of Gujarat and Rajasthan. I was on a sabbatical in 1998, and I will show you the leader, David Andrews. He is an innovator actually. So he was working on the grain hybrid in Nebraska, but at the same time, he worked a little bit time on the forages also. And when I saw this hybrid, I thought, oh, what is this actually? It is a forest actually where he is standing, Mega Mil. I just sent him a mail 3-4 days ago and said, where is your Mega Mil? He said, it is being cultivated by the people actually. It gives 20 to 24 ton of dry matter actually. So I was so inspired that when I came back, I said, well, if he can breed the forages, why don't we breed the forage actually? Although there was not much emphasis on the forages at that time. And in 2001, we developed a hybrid actually. Okay, this looks less of a forest than that actually, but it has about 18 ton of dry matter in 85 days actually. Since then, we have been exploring actually, and now we find there are about 9 seed companies which are involved in the foraging. We started in 2001. In 2014, we find there are 9 seed companies actually. So if the seed companies are, so many seed companies are interested now, and we had started 3 years ago, we were going to be nowhere. In other words, we have to take a proactive role and try to find out the future market and the possibilities, and spend a small amount of time and resources working on those, like heat tolerance, like here. When I developed the variety ICTP8203, the head of genetic resources, Dr. Mangesha, told Dr. Rai, why don't you and my botanist, Dr. Appa Rao, you take a pointed collection mission actually to Togo, because that is where it came from. So, okay, myself here and Dr. Appar there. He is the retired Union Minister of Agriculture or Education, actually. I am forgetting, but he was a Union Minister, actually, and his daughter. And Dr. Appara, while coming back, Dr. Appara will collect from the farm. He will collect from the threshing floor also. He wants all good things when he goes. And then he looked at that and he said, oh, very big head size. Why don't we collect from there? I said, how are you going to go there actually? He said, we will go to him. We went to his house. He served some drink actually. And then we said, can we collect something from here? He said, yeah, why not? I don't remember, but we collected about 30, 35 heads. And when I planted that here, when everything was maturing, it was growing more than 3.5 meter tall actually, and I think 72 days of flowering. Somebody, are you going to use it? I hope you don't use in your program actually, because your program will drag. I said, I am very sorry, but I am so much attached to this genetic resource that I am going to use it actually. We used that, and out of that we developed what we call high head volume B composite. You will come to a slide just in a minute. But he is David Andrews actually. He is looking at a plant, the germplasm called a jongo. You can ask me what is the head length? 1.5 meter actually. And nobody wants to touch it actually. Because at the base, about 1 feet doesn't have any seed, or it has few seeds here and there. And of course, this is me. So what I am trying to show here, from here to here is the head length actually. So we said, all right, we are going to use this. And if it is 1.5 meter and you come very close even to 0.75 meter or 1 meter, I think that will be a good progress. This is what we developed actually some time ago. Mr. A.S. Rao, from here to here, I think about 65 to 70 centimeter long head actually. Now on the partnership, every alternate year we have the field day. I am coming now to close. Field day, and we supply about 1,000 to 2,000 breeding lines every alternate year. But we also supply trait-based nurseries every year to the national program. And if you look at many trait-based nurseries, I think about 400 lines tested at about 11 to 12 locations. Not each one 11 to 12, but all put together. So we supply a lot of material to the national program. And this was accelerated when Dr. Khairwal became the coordinator actually. Okay, with Dr. Khairwal, if people know, we might quarrel actually in the open meeting actually, but we worked very closely together actually. And I think it will take maybe one seminar separately what we did together actually, including the book that Stephania you were talking about, several small publications here and there. But such a practical plant breeder actually, I think in 90% of the cases together we succeeded, in 10% cases we failed also. And that failure was, we wanted to make Rajasthan as a hub of seed production for northern India. I don't want to tell why we failed, but we did not succeed actually. And when last EPMR review was here, Dr. Gowda escorted a panel actually. They decided, okay, they should select one national program where the panel should go to find out how the partnership is going on. Dr. Gowda, you are not here, I think. No. Oh, you are there. This one, right? Sorry. Sorry. No, I am at a little angle. No, why I say he is not there, because Dr. Gowda himself abstained actually from that presentation. That's right, because he abstained so that the panel doesn't think that because of his absence, Dr. Khairwal is frightened and he starts telling everything good about it. So Khairwal had to present actually what the partnership means actually. And Dr. Khairwal doesn't do only good breeding, he does other social things also very well actually. So when the panel was coming out, Dr. Gowda asked actually one of the panel members, that is Dr. Khairwal. Dr. Gowda asked one of the panel members, so what do you think about the partnership actually? It is good. So what rating you will give? Dr. Gowda sent a mail actually, you know Dr. Gowda actually, he works very transparent actually. He sent a mail to Dr. Kharwal, copied to me, and said, congratulations, the panel gave you 5 stars actually. That is the partnership. You can quarrel, no problem actually. If you don't agree on something, don't agree. But that doesn't mean that you don't work together actually. Together we have to work. And for that partnership, when in 2003, ICR gave an award, they give award to what called this coordinated research program. They gave this award, I think I should have put that slide actually. Dr. Khairwal invited me actually in consultation with Dr. Kallu at that time, DDG, and he said, you come because in partners we consider ICRISAT as our partner actually. So that is how the partnership flourishes actually. Not most of the time in the position of taking, but one should be in the position of giving also. Last partnership actually. For the ICRISAT private partnership, I will not go into the detail again. The seeds were sown actually in my office with Dr. Chopra and Dr. Hari Narayana, the pioneer actually. They are pioneer not in terms of seed sale, but these are the people who have got very high class degrees in plant breeding actually. He got his degree from the University of Nebraska and he got from ICAR-ICRISAT actually. Dr. Hari Narayana was our All India crop coordinator, the youngest coordinator in the program any time so far. And we were running through the crisis actually. I was getting about $9,000 to run the program. And I said, now I have to go upstream actually, because institute is asking, do upstream research. I am also very much interested in upstream research, but who will do downstream actually? So I said, my friend, I am likely to go upstream. So when you come after 4 years and say, Dr. Rai, what do you have? I will say, I have got 5 publications actually. That I will give it to. Oh no, we don't want publications. What do you want? We want genotypes. If you want genotype, then you have to give money actually to support our program. And then later on came sorghum. Okay, the seed was sown. But I think the consortium was formulated under the able guidance of Dr. Gaur actually. I don't think I had that vision and ability to form a consortium the shape it is in, and it has the way it has evolved actually. The basic objective was the resource mobilization at that time, but it also was to accelerate the research and development. The result should be that, okay, what is the result of that? A lot of goodwill and trust. There is an annual grant that they have to give, but our consortium says that if you have a good seed sale to a company, and you want to make some goodwill contribution, please come forward. So the pioneer came with a goodwill contribution. Actually, they have contributed twice. So that is an indicator actually, a sort of how useful the ICRISAT millet program is to the pioneer program and by implication to many other programs also actually. Now they have gone, this consortium has evolved over time. It is not only taking the money and giving the material, but it has gone much more beyond actually. And as a result, the HPRC was given the Meissler Award in 2007. So that is a recognition of the strength of the partnership. It expands actually and goes in the other area. So now in biofortification also we have a huge partnership, about 15 seed companies and 5 SAUs. The requirement is that to become a partner in the biofortification program, a seed company has to be a member of the HPRC. So we said, okay, what do we, 1.5 millet breeder at that time, as you can say 2, do we have enough resources actually with us to train the people? No, we don't have actually. The seed companies are very good in the seed production, for example. So we now involve them beyond impact assessment also in the training program actually. In 2011, Mary Mugonja and Dr. Gupta, they organized a training program in Tanzania, and Dr. O.P. Yadav and Dr. Mahala. O.P. Yadav coordinated at that time, and Mahala is the private sector man actually. They were the resource person. how far our partnership should be. We have the mandate crop, we have the mandate region. Should we be looking beyond actually? If we don't spend too much of our resources and our time, and we had a project with the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture in Dubai actually, and they work in Central Asia also. They were not giving a lot of money, but then we were not doing a lot of work for them also actually. They want some germplasm, we multiply at one time 20 kg seed in the isolation, and we keep supplying the seed for 3-4 years actually. In fact, we used to save from $15,000-$20,000 that we were getting, we used to save that money was not being spent even full actually. And as a result of that, a variety developed from the high head volume B composite called Husky was released in Uzbekistan this year or last year actually. And as a result of that, Uzbekistan government started funding a research project on pearl millet improvement in that country actually. So that is what we are talking of, this catalyzing the thinking process and the development in other countries wherever there are opportunities. So that is so much about the major uses of pearl millet. But when my leader, he was leader and he was boss also, he was a real boss. When he retired 6 years ago, and he said he doesn't have that much funding support and he doesn't have that much technical assistance to run around actually, he had been thinking very innovatively what next to do. So he said now he is going to breed ornamental pearl millet actually. Dr. Gaurav, we have seen that together actually. Now the ornamental millet he bred, I think I should tell this, was called Purple Majestic. The germplasm went from here, which he used. And that was tested in the horticultural national trial actually, I don't know for how many years. It was released, and for that Purple Majestic ornamental millet, University of Nebraska got a gold medal, which I am told is given once in 20 years. So he got so excited that every year he writes, I think this is my last year. But never last year comes actually. So this time he wrote again few days ago when I asked for some slide, he said, this is my last, I am also going to retire this year actually. And then he says, important, my last purple Jade Princess ornamental millet is now recommended for release in 2015 actually. So David Andrews and his wife looking at ornamental pearl millet, you can see ornamental pearl millet actually. And then you can say this. So what people are doing? I asked him yesterday in an email that it will be very interesting if you can tell me how it is sold actually. And he says, each packet has got 25 seeds actually. And for each packet, the cost is, depending on the hybrid, $2 to $3. So in pearl millet, one panicle can give you 2,000 seeds, at least 1,000 seeds. 1,000 seeds means $40 into 2, or let us say 3, $120 actually. $120 from one panicle actually one can generate. That is looking at pearl millet beyond actually. And the great crop, are there other opportunities with the germplasm that we have? There might be. Now, this has been a very consistent, dedicated team effort actually. I admire actually the pearl millet team, especially now Dr. Gupta and Dr. Govindaraj actually. In the field day I had seen a lot of material, and I can tell you the productivity is going to increase not only by 7%, it will increase at a higher rate based on the material that we have seen actually. Cereals pathology, millet pathology, without pathology, I think nothing would have gone on the farm actually. If you don't have downy mildew resistance, nothing goes there actually. Very dedicated work. Cereals physiology, more in terms of understanding actually the physiology of the crop. And for doing good plant breeding, you need a good crop. And we have the department fixed actually, and they are so dedicated, you just say this is what we want, and they will do exactly that way. National Research Centers, HPRC and the Harvest Plus. But I should come back to some of these names. David Andrews, he trained me actually as a millet breeder. And he is a very different type of worker. At one time when I was visiting University of Nebraska, he took me to the field. He must have told his wife that we'll come at 5 o'clock. And then he started showing what material he has actually. And that going and going, then it becomes 6 o'clock actually. He calls his wife, Celia, we are running late. How late we can run? So she must have said, you run as late as you like actually. So he got the liberty of running as late as he wanted, and he started, maybe he wanted to know also whether still I work here or I get tired so soon. And then at one time he looks at the label and he says, Doctor, I'm sorry, we have to go home because now we cannot read the label actually. That is the type of worker he was. He used to stay at the campus. During the crop season, he will never come straight away to the office actually. He will go first to the field and then he will come to the office and he will start telling us what you need to do where actually. He is so famous actually that if you know RP10 ABC, just you imagine, he will park his car in RP10A, and the joke was that you be careful. He has parked his car in 10A, but when you are taking the observation in 10C, he might be standing behind you actually. That type of work actually. So it's a great, I mean, the foundation and prioritization was laid by him. Dr. William Dar, all salutes to him. I think if Dr. Dar were not there, I think I might be giving this seminar 14 years ago actually. I mean, things were in real bad shape, but I admired his courage of conviction actually. When the consortium came with the small money, he said, I think we will go for it actually. Full support. Biofortification came because of him. He fought for it that permits should be included in the biofortification program. And I am not telling because I am making a story. When the Harvest Plus office was open, he said actually, today I am going to disclose actually. Dr. Gowda, those people who have not been here 25 years ago, you don't know what I was actually. I am different today. I think maybe different because of aging also, but I think Dr. Gowda has a great influence on the way I manage my time, I manage my research actually. So thanks to you, Dr. Gowda. Stefania Grando, this year I said to her that I would like to work only half time actually. She readily agreed. So thanks, Stefania, she is not here, for giving me half time for 12 months to complete some of the objectives and the commitments I had actually. If this was not there, I think I was going to leave some of the things undone, which I don't like. Dr. Wolfgang, professional plant breeder, now director of Harvest Plus. People say we have got similar wavelength. People say, when they say we get along well, we have got similar wavelength. Well, with the Wolfgang, we have identical wavelength actually. He understands my constants. He knows what we can do. And he is a big supporter of our program. Mr. A.S. Rao, I think he has been interested for people. The people may not know, all our people can understand. A.S. Rao, three months before I came actually, he joined, and he has been with me since then actually. Last slide, I don't know what he put. Last slide is his slide actually. He helped me preparing all these slides. It is just unbelievable. 1977 data. If I want something from 1977, 78, he will go and find it out actually. So thanks to you, A.S. Rao, for all that you have done for the program. Thank you. This is not my selection actually. I had a thank you. A.S. Rao said, no, sir, if you don't mind, I would like to keep this slide. I don't know what was his objective. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, KN. Although during coffee we agreed, he wanted to speak for 1 hour. I said, No,
Yes, sir.
45 minutes.
Yes.
But I did not want to stop him because of the conviction he had in telling what he had done for pearl millet. So, but I did also promise that I will allow one or two queries. I wouldn't say questions. Maybe somebody may like to seek some advice from Dr. Rai. So I will open up for maximum 2 queries. So anybody who want? Okay, Ashok. But make it short. Huh?
I'm always short, sir. Sir, amazing presentation. We learned a lot. So the great work in terms of, let us say, if you see the hybrids, 30% heterosis, right? And great, let's say, adoption driven by the private sector, okay? But if you look at, and great yield increase, but if you look at the pearl millet average yield, it is still around one ton per hectare. So what is that we need to do next to make it even higher?
I think on a consistent basis, myself and SK we talk about quite a bit. Let us say in 2-3 years, the average should cross 1 ton actually. I mean, our DG also sometimes when he used to meet, he says, how far have you gone? 900 kg, 900. I want to see 1 ton actually. I'm sorry actually that this year we couldn't complete that 1 ton. But I think in 2-3 years, I think we'll cross that average actually as we see the things going on. You know actually what is the problem? The problem is that in those people who know the A and B zone, more than 400 millimeter rainfall, in that zone the area has come down. But in the arid zone of western Rajasthan and part of Gujarat and Haryana, the area has not come down at all actually. So when the area comes down, proportionately the area of the arid zone goes up. And there is no modern technology, hybrid or anything else. So that is holding back actually the origin. If you take out the western Rajasthan out, right, we had crossed 1 ton long time ago. But my feeling is that if we don't cross 1.5 ton, let us say in the next 10 years, right, there may be a problem. And why I say there will be a problem, because many of you must have heard our Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying something, and he says we have to go for the scientific agriculture actually. Because farmers will not cultivate pearl millet or any crop unless it is remunerative to them actually. So we have to increase the productivity to 1.5 ton. Now remember, in the summer bajra, where it is really managed very well, it is a delight to see pearl millet in the summer in Rajasthan, part of Rajasthan and UP also and Gujarat. It is 4 to 5 ton actually in 85 days. But that crop is cultivated after the harvest of potatoes. So you know how potato is harvested and cultivated, right? A lot of fertilizer, they irrigate almost every 10 days, 1 week. So the yield potential is great. But I think a modern crop management practice has to be applied actually. If you manage the crop properly, right, and forget the western part of Rajasthan, will be 1.5 ton even tomorrow. So we have, at that level we have to go. And if you look at 7% and the type of material that we saw in the field day, if you go with that rate, I think in the next 2-3 years, you will cross 1.2 actually.
KN is my good friend. And you can say, first guru for pearl millet, taught me a lot of pearl millet when I was first here. You painted a very, very good picture of the history of pearl millet improvement research from the time when you emphasized population improvement, went down, then hybrids and biofortification, and in the end you even sought, beyond highlighting on degrees on which even ornamentals can be done. Now, seriously speaking, as we see the yield frontier for millets and the potential for commercialization, what would you advise your young breeders right now on where they will spend their next 20 years so that pearl millet will be a very, very productive and meaningful mandate of ICRISAT?
So if I understand, one you are talking about the productivity, right? The other about the utilization actually?
Productivity and commercialization.
Commercialization. I think the productivity we will be having that rate 7 to 8% actually for a long time. That is, I have no doubt about that actually. Provided given the same level of attention at the institute level. I mean, the breeders are there. They know exactly what they have to do. I mean, they are doing what we have been doing actually with the same commitment, same vision, same knowledge base, no problem. But unless so again, I will not talk about the Western Rajasthan and the arid part. My personal feeling is for a long time there is not really much can be done, because we tried our best actually to work with the government of Rajasthan, actually with the different centers in that region. I think there is not much enthusiasm. There is enthusiasm in the workshop for talking, but there is not much enthusiasm in terms of policy making and the implementation. But in the other part, like the A and D zone, I think we will maintain that rate of 7 to 8 to 9% actually. And with the seed companies involved now, and a lot of interest actually coming in the millet-based food, I hope that things will change. And although we have to make some corrections actually, but some of the best posters on the millets now they are posted in our corridor actually. I don't know, maybe Ashok and SK along with the communications office they did it actually. I think I came slightly more prepared for the seminar than normally one would do. So I called my daughter and I discussed again about quinoa actually. And said at what rate it sells. In the US it sells about 450 rupees equivalent per kg actually. As I said, there are different colors, so the rates vary. The dark color, red color is slightly cheaper. And I was surprised, she said that is the one which is like more the millet color actually. That is the costliest one. So 450 rupees a kg. We talk a lot actually, but there should be a way to compare the nutritive value of quinoa and pearl millet actually. And my thinking is they will come more or less same. But quinoa has been pushed in the US market because there was somebody to do it. Pearl millet, there was nobody to push. Breeders are not the one actually who will be doing that actually, because they might be giving the background information and advice, but we need the expertise actually, branding, marketing, and so on. So once that commercialization aspect picks up actually, I don't know whether you were asking that my children will eat actually. Did you ask or no? I misunderstood.
Are you advising our young breeders now on how to spend their breeding life the next 20 years?
Yeah. One thing that sometimes we talk about is that there will be very little labor available actually. If right now the labors are not available to harvest the pearl millet. And if Prime Minister Modi's plan of Make in India succeeds with the skill development, I think we'll be having less manpower. I did not have a slide, but there was a slide, excellent slide. DJ Andrew sent me only 2-3 days ago about pearl millet in Brazil actually. On a farmer's field, if you see that crop, you will not say, okay, it is any less than wheat or rice actually. Wonderful crop. So that might come one day. People will say, okay, oh, it is a fodder crop or it is a grain crop. It's not always true actually. You talk about the summer pearl millet in UP, they plow actually the stover in the field. They don't use the stover for anything else. It is a different matter that the technology may come and they say, okay, stover we will use for energy development. Is it not? There are some people are talking about the residue used for energy generation. That is different. But I think a time will come when things will start getting mechanized and we have to breed for it. And we are quite on the way actually. If that thing picks up, we have already the material actually in our breeding stocks.
I think
There is one question from virtual participant.
Okay. Yeah.
The question is about how far the molecular mapping for iron and zinc was done at ICRISAT and pearl millet.
Molecular?
Mapping, QTL mapping.
You work on iron and zinc. Why you are asking me?
Audience.
Audience,
Yeah.
okay. I think a little work was done by one of the students of Dr. Tom Hess, but the size of the RILs that they used actually was not enough, and I don't think that is why Tom Hess did not go about formal publication of that thesis, because he himself is not convinced. So really not much, you can say. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have to go back on my words. I can't refuse Dr. Jodha. Please.
Friends, this is real good opportunity to listen all this, because I never thought that we will have such discussion. But I have just one concern, and that is, I come from Nagaur district in Rajasthan, where pearl millet was important. It is important. So whenever I go, because we never get millet in Kathmandu to eat and all that, so I always say, make for me bajra roti. They make, and then my grandchildren of my brothers and others. So I say, okay, let them also come and join me. And you won't believe that each kid, when I request, in spite of their respect for me, they say, no, we don't eat. And it hits me. Secondly, I think about 3-4 years back when I came, I traveled to airport with some millet breeder. I forget his name. So, and before that there was some discussion that when you describe millet breeding, etc., to others, so and then to sound socialistic, so we work on poor man's crop. Now, one thing is, if you understand the psychology of the people these days, if you describe things as an inferior sort of poor man's crop, no scientist except people like you will opt for do things. So, one is we deliberately degrade the status of this crop, and secondly, I think when government of India or others may do a lot of things, but subsidy for production and subsidy for purchase and marketing. Millet or millets, other brothers and sisters, these crops do not matter anywhere. So I think maybe I'm eccentric, but I still feel it is some sort of hypocrisy on the part of the higher level decision makers as far as these crops are concerned. I was impressed by the height of this millet which you have. So it's very impressive, but then these fundamental questions of market and utilization, that way if you want to convert millet grain as a, not only fodder but a manure, if it can be, that is different thing, but I'm talking of consumers' preference and government support for it. So it's a just observation.
I will just say one or two lines actually. Dr. Jodha, thank you very much. You'll be very happy to know actually that these are not being called now anymore minor millets, poor man's crop. Now Dr. Swaminathan started 2-3 years ago, nutritious cereals that looked a little big actually then. Now they are being labeled as nutri-cereals. So that thinking is already there. And about 4 months ago, Joanna asked me and Ashok at ESK to develop a concept note actually on that. And we identified some areas. The first thing I wrote in that concept note was advocacy actually. And you will be amazed that since the Harvest Plus project came here, I am very happy to say that Harvest Plus is doing much more about publicizing the nutritive value of this crop than we are doing actually. So the advocacy campaign has to be done. My feeling is that people will revert back. You can be very sure of that. And why do I say? I was just watching on Astha channel a program by Baba Ramdev, and he had a person, I think he said he was 160 kg actually. And the age was not much, I think maybe 25, 30 years old man. He called him and he said, sit by my side actually. And I don't know, that picture looks a little tricky, but he says in 1 week he lost 8 kg by following something which Ramdev said. But that is not important. What is important, he asked, so how did you gain all this weight actually before? What did you do? So he said, Babaji, sorry, I was eating all junk food actually all these days. So pizza is very good, hamburger is very good, and see how people are attracted, right? But these foods are so dangerous actually in the long run that obesity is now the #1 health problem worldwide actually, including India and China. So people are becoming conscious. It is only that tongue is something very different when you like. It is something very tasty, difficult to get away. But for the benefit of this house, actually I have told in different meetings, I should tell. People say you should not eat pearl millet in summer. I eat pearl millet, and not only pearl millet, finger millet and sorghum around the year, in the lunch time and in the dinner time, and I don't feel that it is so hot actually. And for that people, okay, rancidity problem here and there. So I just purchased a small milling machine, cost only 13,000 rupees. I purchased 8 years ago from exhibition, and I thought it will not last more than 3 years. 3 years if you have done your job, money is back. Still it is running actually. I do the milling for 7 days, 10 days and just eat actually. Okay, I am a little conscious, right? I think the advocacy and consciousness raising has to be done. But I am very sorry to say that even at the highest level in India, people talk a lot about nutritive value from ICR everywhere. But when it comes to the planning and implementation and execution, absolutely nothing is going on. It is only that Harvest Plus is doing actually. I am sure all of you people know the joint problems, serious problems, right? Calcium deficiency. You eat calcium tablet, why don't you eat finger millet actually? Why do you eat rice? Finger millet has got 40 times more calcium than rice actually. But there are people who are eating, they are becoming conscious. They are becoming conscious.
Okay. Dr. Rai is available during lunchtime for any further questions and discussions. At this stage, let me thank Dr. Rai. I don't want to embarrass him more by telling that he is the father of pearl millet. Glenn Burton definitely made a big contribution. His guru, DJ Andrews, also was a great breeder. He taught KN what has to be done in terms of pearl millet breeding. But there is a saying in Telugu which says, Guruvina minchina shishudu. A disciple who excelled the Guru himself. And KN is one of those people who has outdone the Guru himself. Congratulations for all the good work that you have done. And most of all, you can now, get out of ICRISAT happily. I won't say retired because you will not be retired. There are many things more that you need to do, but at least you can leave ICRISAT with the satisfaction that you have done your bit to the humankind around the pearl millet growing areas of the world. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize, but I
I had to leave. DG was calling, and actually he asked me to convey his great appreciation to Dr. Rai for all his lifetime to millet improvement and to ICRISAT. He's very appreciative of what you have done, KN Rai, and he just asked me to convey. He could not be here in person, but he definitely recognize and appreciate all your hard work in all these years. Thank you very much.